returned for episode 58 here in the challenge series. Personal reminder to name the titles correctly this time because I forgot to stop putting it as the acronym. Anyway. There have been a lot of new vehicles showing up to the paddock lately. Some just new vehicles for old drivers, but some just brand new drivers altogether. Clearly Thrasher's been pretty hard at fucking work lately. I don't know what's going on over there. He's at his Wheaties, I guess. So this episode's gonna have quite a few new debuting faces to go over in pre-race sequences. So for the delay, I guess let's get into the first race, the first set of recruits, as it were. Alright, well, we are here ahead of the first race of this episode. At 680 class racing at Circuit of Barcelona. Give a quick overview of the first set of new faces here, the first of which, Axel Valentine, is finally branching out from the 640 division, as he now has a Pantera. He will be running in the 680 category. Emilia Fontaine has a new Celica that she's running in. And Michael Krieger, who only recently joined the series in general with an M2 competition, he has entered the 680 category as well with an a 3-liter CSL, which I think I remember he told me he has a Z4 engine in, like the Z4 GT3. I forgot to close the bathroom door, so there's a nice furnace there. And we are on board with Kazuyo Takahata. And the race is now underway. Heading to turn 1 and 2 and 3. Very tight squeeze and a heavy braking zone, so I wouldn't be too surprised if we saw any competitors with maybe a bit of body damage. I'm gonna close the bathroom door quickly, as Takahata didn't really get the launch he was looking for, I don't think. He will get ahead of Marco Mendoza into turn 4, and Rob Fenders with Taro Catano for 18th. Looks like he's gonna get that move done too, as the Skyline's gonna probably have better drive off than a Super B. Mendoza's gonna try and follow him through back there. Yeah, Michael Krieger, this brand new CSL, already has some rear bumper damage. Takahata wanted to go 3 wide there, but he broke a little earlier than he anticipated he'd need to. It doesn't matter because he cuts back on both Stephanie and Krieger on exit and moves himself into 16th. Dive bombs on my mom. That sounds odd. Context gets into 15th, passing her into the hairpin. Sneaks to the outside, which is now the inside on Lombardi. That might be 14th. Yes. Down the inside of Fujikawa. Takes out some cones. And we have a bunch of pitting vehicles. Barbara, the Bot, Dedrick Schwartz, and Akira Taniguchi all have to pit there. Along with others. Yeah, Stephanie and Krieger gave each other damage. That'll be an awkward conversation later. 2 German compatriots smacking each other around. Alright, Takahata's getting used up a little bit by Hana Song. He does eventually get ahead of her though, but gets a little bit squirrely as he does so. Bagstrom gets his elbows out against DePrisco in an attempt to hold on to P4. And Axel Valentine with his brand new, I almost said Pantera, sends it down the inside of Kishibe, and he will grab the lead. The new leader only a lap and a half in, and it's Axel Valentine on his 680 class debut. Vasher is all out of shape going through there, and Takahata looks to capitalize. Vasher is way out wide, and that's a pretty easy move for the Skyline there. Oh, DeFrisco almost gets right into the back of Backstrom. He had to kind of cut the course to avoid contact. Takahata's going to try and seize this moment of lack of equilibrium. But DeFrisco forces him out wide. They make contact with no damage. Front stretch, you will easily outdrag Bagstrom and Gemini. But Valentine is out of here. Kishibe is doing her best to stick with him, but it's not getting much. Instead, she'll just take a defensive line to one to at least try and hang on to second for a bit. Takahata's going to try on the outside of T3. And using the traction provided by all-wheel drive, he will actually make that pass. Not much time has passed. He's already getting pretty close to Valentine up there. I think he's sort of driving a bit conservatively. And that's cost him a lot of time, and now Takahata's definitely filling his mirrors. A Pantera with an obvious straight line advantage. But the Skyline's going to have the better traction. Probably marginally better cornering, but still better nonetheless. They get too wide heading out of the third from last turn. Into the penultimate corner, Axel hangs it on the outside of Takahata. There's still two. Axel tried to clear him there, but it could not. But on the exit of the last turn, he will. He's going to put the Pantera's V8 horsepower to full use down the main straightaway and get a little space ahead of that Skyline. Even despite Takahata benefiting from a bit of slipstream, it does not matter. But we get to a couple of corners and Kazuya's right back on him. It certainly isn't the battle I expected to see today. I expected to see a Nissan battle, or maybe DeFrisco with the hot hand, but no. Takahata making Valentine really puts his Pantera through some stress testing here. Summonbro traction, I think it was the Pantera driver. They're too wide again. Takahata's got the inside lane, and it's a slow corner, so I thought exit traction would be the move for Takahata, but no. Valentine actually got really good traction off the exit despite not having four-wheel drive, and he stays ahead of the Skyline. You would think Axel had been driving this car since he joined the series, the way that he's wheeling this thing. He's had a pretty pathetic turn 9 just there, and Takahata knows that. All it takes is one late braking zone. Valentine tries to cut back. Takahata kind of delays his turn in there, so he instead just cuts directly into Takahata's door. He's pushing his R34 to its limits too, as you can see there. And crucially doesn't go past them, and through the last turn, this absolute bar fight of a first race in the episode, Kazuya Takahata is going to grab the victory at Catalunya over Axel Valentine, who has certainly made a statement with this car's debut. Kira Kishibe will narrowly hang on to P3 to round out the podium. Fontaine, with her new Celica's debut, runs in P9, and I don't think Michael Krieger did anything because he got that damage very early on. And the game's gonna hang here, huh? Well, at least we got the recording in, so when the game is done being a shitbox, I will see you for race 2. So now we're ahead of race 2. Here, Watkins Glen's short layout for a 640 class event. We are on board with we will be on board with Colin Morris and actually get the race started. But first, some debuts somewhere on the grid. Yes, Jeremiah Wood, and brand new driver to the series. He debuts in his custom 1970 Super B. Let's make that 3 in the series now. Further up the grid, we have the other one, Saeed Al-Zaman. Is actually from Saudi Arabia, but he resides in France, so he uses the French flag. Apparently, he is a former Dakar rally god, pretty much. Meanwhile, Jeremiah Wood is just some guy who he and his sister live out of their car because their house burned down not too long ago and they have nowhere else to be but in their little car. So the race is officially underway. Colin Morris, he hasn't really shown up in many races lately. Despite the acquisition of the Sierra Cosworth, he hasn't really done a whole lot with it. I guess he's ready to stretch his legs this afternoon, I suppose. Very cloudy afternoon. You could hardly tell it's afternoon because it's just cloud. You're making pretty significant gains in this slightly longer race than usual, a 5-lap event here at the Glen. Of course, that's to make up for the fact that it's only the short layout. The laps here, as you can see, aren't that long. It's going to be a minute 20. And that's on the first lap, so the following laps would probably be a minute 16, minute 15 even. As we just saw Colin Morris was 3 wide into turn 1 with Mizoto and Briggs. He managed to stick that move about as well as anybody ever could, but now he's stuck in a bit of traffic. That turbo is very loud, holy crap. Is that turbo or tinnitus? Or maybe it's both. You see Vincent Houston up ahead trying to get a pass done on Dakota Kingsley. Looks like he will not succeed, as Dakota hung on the outside until the outside became the inside, and he said, "See you later." Morris gets Monte Carlo on the outside of the carousel, switches back, out-drags Houston dominantly, and now the top 6 is kind of interesting because this entire top 6 has some sort of history with off-road race. The current race leader, Brendan Reed, is a big fan of World of Outlaws, dirt racing, sprint cars. Tetsuya Harada is in second. He's a rally driver. We have a battle between Kyra McIntosh, who is passionately familiar with dirt racing, most of the late models, versus Al-Zaman, who's a Dakar legend. Colin Morris is a rallycross legend, and Dakota Kingsley, who, well, he used to race off-road all the time, but that was a recreational thing. As for professional motorsports, the closest he's ever gotten was, he ran outdoor in the NASCAR Truck Series once. nearly won, but he got turned for it. Not by Martin Simpson, he never got to the Truck Series. Now suddenly Colin Morris is running in P2 with more than 2 laps to go, and he's got a pretty good run on Brendan Reed heading down the back straightaway here. And he's going to be ahead before we even break for the next turn. So Colin Morris is now the leader, just a little over a half of the way through this race. Showing who the superior dirt racer is apparently. McIntosh is looking for another overtake, this time on Harada in his Subaru. Big oversteer from the Charger, but he still had a better exit than the Subaru. I don't know how that happened. But that will put Tyler McIntosh into P3. And he's going to go try and now chase down his teammate for P2. And with the amount of difference in horsepower these two cars have, I don't think he'll have too many issues with getting to him. He just might struggle to get around him, as Brendan Reed is known to be a pretty defensive driver. But that horsepower difference is so staggering that it doesn't matter. He does have to keep the car pointed straight though, that will help. As Colin Morris is just simply checked out. About a 3-second lead in hand for him. Dakota Kingsley has apparently overtaken Alzaman, so he is the superior truck. Also, I just totally got our truck drivers confused. I'm an idiot. Dakota Kingsley does race. He literally was in, like, 360 sprint cars. He was on his way working up towards the World of Outlaws before he was wrecked by Martin Simpson. Kotexa, who I think is in this race. He's not, I'm an idiot. He's the one I was thinking of that ran the film. I'm an idiot. Speaking of trucks, I don't know why I said that, but Tyler McIntosh gets ahead of his teammate up the S's. That being the top speed advantage that Super B has. It is designed for tracks like this, high-speed corners. But I think it's a day late and a dollar short, because Colin Morris has built up such a lead at this point. I mean, McIntosh is but a speck in that rear view there. God, that turbo gives me a headache. So out of the last turn, Colin Morris is going to basically come out of hibernation. And he will grab a pretty convincing win at Watkins Glen. But it will be a double podium for Jake Scarborough Racing, who finished 2-3. In his debut, Al-Zaman manages a P6. And Jeremiah Wood, 11th, I think, losing exactly one position, and that would be the position he lost to Colin Morris. So, pretty neutral debuts from the new drivers. So, I guess with that settled, let's head on to race 3. Hopefully my game doesn't just, like, stop working this time around. So we are here on the grid of race 3. I say grid, just a moment start, because it's Daytona. We will be on board with John Garrison in this 720 spec event. We have, I think, 4 debuting drivers, or 4 debuting cars, I should say. Only, I think, 1 debuting driver. Somehow, one of those 2 is on the front row. We have a front row lockout for, well, Barbara's new car, and a new driver. So yeah, Barbara Page has obtained a C8 Stingray for the 720 class. Weird that she elects to put this there and has the older generation in a higher category, but I don't know. And then we have a debuting driver in the form of Rip Thompson, R-I-P-P, so, like, the letter P twice, yeah. Apparently, Thrasher tells me this guy is just the quintessential 90s kid. So, I guess that's supposed to explain why his car looks so obnoxious. Honestly, I've seen worse. And then we have Akira Taniguchi, who is debuting his 2019 model GR Supra. He starts 7th, it says right here. And then the other new driver, new car, Francisco Fadanzi, has obtained an Alfa Romeo Giulia GTAM, I don't know which one, for 720. So he's finally branching out from the 600 class, and now with that determined, you're now green. Alex Carson's making John Garrison cross himself over. And I think he kind of locked his car up on the brakes there and gave Alex Carson a bit of a bump. Almost just smacked right into Paul Valentine there. Had to kind of duck to avoid running into focus. And now Paul is actually too wide with their other buddy, David Danvers. So, and these three are just stuck together right now. Deep Local up there is losing all control. Another instance where Garrison nearly runs into the back of somebody, but he manages to narrowly prevent that. Deep Local just sends Danvers into the outside wall. Sure, you love that. 4 overtakes. Nearly gets turned by Francisco Fadanzi, whose car is just sliding up as he tries to give Narashi room on the bottom. This is just a big train. This isn't just a battle, this is a train. Three more overtakes for the Corvette. He's using all that top speed to its maximum potential, it seems. I think Burt Wheeler just put himself in the wall there, trying to not run into me and or Rebecca Briggs. And Barbara and the new debuting Thompson, not to be confused with Craig Thompson, there's no relation, that guy is Irish, he's American. They've just kind of run away with this one. Thompson's right there on the back of Page's bumper. And Thrasher, who's running third, is like almost 3 seconds back. I'm trying here for an overtake against Scarborough. Exit benefits from being on the inside lane, allowing me to do that with relative ease. Garrison will follow me through. Jake sends him a little message on his way out, apparently, gives him a tag to the quarter panel. Man, did you put nitrous in that thing? What the hell? He throws to the back of Thrasher. There's a battle for the lead going on, but Barbara manages to outbrake the Viper and lead another day. Garrison gets ahead of Thrasher into the bus stop, and then it's just an absolute train of cars behind him. Sophia Meyer leading, I think that's 5 other cars around the track here at Daytona. Nope, that's 6. Jake, Rebecca, me, Bert, Stephanie. Okay, it is 5. It's 6 including her. I can definitely count. Meyer is defending for everything she's worth right now. Meanwhile, Garrison, as we've just crossed over into lap 3, is very much catching these lead 2s. We're probably too concerned with each other that they've lost a lot of time to Garrison. They probably aren't even aware he's there. Rebecca Briggs sneaks alongside Scarborough, gives him absolutely no real estate there on the inside of the first hairpin. So Scarborough squeezes her back on the exit. I am being absolutely mugged right now. Eric Wojciechowski has joined this train of cars following Meyer. I was in 6th at one point, fighting for 5th. Now I'm in 10th, and in danger of even losing that position. Nobody's had any damage in this race, surprising. But the Sophia train continues around the circuit to take Scarborough first in mind to derail that train, it looks like. And I missed him take the lead away, whoops. Heading through the same kink that train was going through a minute ago. Send it on Rip Thompson. It's a weird way to make that overtake stick, but it worked. But Barber kind of parked the bus on the apex so we couldn't get them both. So now we're gonna have Corvette Wars heading on to the oval at Daytona. This war, based on the exit that Garrison just got, it's not gonna be a very long war. And as he's already ahead, he's already driving off into the literal sunset. And Rip Thompson is just left in the dust. Meyer continues to keep her elbows out to keep Scarborough at bay. He still can't draw alongside, somehow. Meanwhile, Rebecca is 2 wide with Stephanie behind him. I'm trying to keep a crazy Camaro at bay. I've said at bay quite a few times in this race, huh? Oh, Thompson has a huge run out of NASCAR 4. Barbara Page moves the block, so he'll try the outside. This isn't always the best move at turn 1, though. No, he puts himself in the wall like a cluck. Barbara also did kind of assist him too, though. I'd say he did hang it around the outside. That's a pretty impressive overtake from the debuting Thompson. And, oh, Barbara gives him a bump. A little more aggressive than I'm used to seeing out of Paige, at least here. And on Hinge, yeah, she was a Demolition Derby master, so she knows how to hit a car, but she also knows how to not hit a car normally. It's a double-sided coin. I mean, as all coins are, Riker. Meyer continues to lead this train of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cars. Danvers is hanging on the 15th, kind of in the train, kind of not. That's the key. Tyler, they are pretty removed from the train, and apparently Carson and Valentine, the only 2 cars back here, managed to make contact and damage each other's machinery. Garrison's not in the clear either. Thompson got through there pretty well. He's caught him relatively well, but Garrison had a really good bus stop there, so I think that's about sealed the deal for the Corvette. Barbara nowhere near close enough to try and steal second back. And so Garrison heads up to the start-finish line. Looks like he will grab the victory at Daytona. American 1-2 at Daytona, with Rip Thompson in his debut grabbing second place. It's a good day to be a debuting driver, as Axel Valentine managed the same thing earlier. Page should be satisfied with the results generated by that C8 Corvette. Eventually, Scarborough and Stephanie got ahead of Meyer and escaped with the train. But for Taniguchi, that was not a great debut for him, starting 7th and dropping 9 places on the way. even falling behind a fellow debuting car of Finanzi's Alfa Romeo Giulia. So, a mixed bag from the debuting cars and drivers here, but Thompson stands above the rest as the newest driver, newest car, and finishing second. And now let's head into race 4. Race 4 is green. Not very well lit Autopolis hosts a 600 class race at the shortcut layout. And there's only one debut, and he literally started on the front. He literally started on pole. Sam Hilton is debuting, another one brought in by Thrasher. Well, most of these were. The only one so far that wasn't, I believe, was Victory brought somebody in. I don't remember who they were. But Saeed, Thompson, and Sam Hilton, they were all brought in by Thrasher. Actually, no, there was no one, because there was no new driver in race 1. It's a bunch of new cars. We are on board with AJ Unleaded, as he is already into 13th in his Miata Cup car. I almost said Miata. What? His Miata Cup car now make that 12th place ahead of Dedrick Schwartz. So, a tale of Miatas kind of being interrupted by Thomas O'Reilly, who moves himself into the lead in his Roadster. Hilton wants to dive down the inside, but Thomas closes that option off pretty well. As you can see by his car design, Sam Hilton, he is an airplane pilot, and therefore has a thing for jets. His nickname literally is Jetstream Sam, from what I'm told. Which makes him sound less like a race driver and more like a superhero. But either way, both the Miatas are kind of getting embarrassed at the moment, as Amber Ashhart sneaks her way ahead. Hanamura is working his way past the both of them as well. Look at me, I'm in the mix too, and this S14 is doing a little better in this lower division, as AJ passes me with basically no issues. There's one Miata gaining places. That's not the debuting one either. I wonder if Sam is any relation to the Hilton Hotel chain. Alright. AJ doesn't like that he's been double dive bombed, apparently. He gives a little horn of what the hell. But still manages to out-drag everybody on exit. And get 2 more places for good measure, both on Sam Hilton and on Kazuma Hanamura. He's up into the podium spots as we cross over into lap 3. Just now passing halfway on this event. God, the body roll on this car under braking is just obscene to me. The engine of that Roadster compared to the engine noise of that Roadster. What? This Roadster versus this Roadster. Wow, I didn't think that one through now, did I? This is aggressive, rough V8 engine that just sounds incredibly pissed. And we just have as AJ sneaks his way on the inside there. And he grabs the lead away from Thomas, just over a lap to go. Curious that he has logos for his team, Team 44 Racing, but he hasn't registered that as an official team in the series. Curious. Thomas O'Reilly, I think, is going defensive there. I don't think he had any realistic belief that he could try a dive bomb from that range, but also Ashhart wasn't catching him either, so I'm just not really sure what he was doing there. See if I can get a pass in on the new guy. squeeze down his inside, but, well, now that's the outside, so I'm just gonna tuck back in behind the Roadster driver. Try to get a better exit, heading towards the hairpin. I don't. Meanwhile, another Miata is under threat from Mulsanne and her A110. Looks like Joe Morrow managed to hold on to that spot at least. Misery for two Miatas, but it's gonna be, looks like victory for the third. Considering the last we saw him, he was actually totaling a Miata in the form of Isabella Flynn. Quite a change of pace to watch AJ Unleaded take victory here at Autopolis. Thomas O'Reilly and Amber Ashhart. Well, now the second and third oldest drivers join him on the podium. As I neglected to mention, Saeed Al-Zaman is actually the oldest driver in the series now. Thomas O'Reilly is 56, Amber Ashhart's 55. No, they're the third and fourth oldest. The second oldest is also in the race. That's Francisco Fidanzi somewhere. He is 58. I don't remember exactly how old Al-Zaman is, but he's at least in his 60s. I want to say he's 62. But anyway, let's not enough deliberating on that. Let's just head into the final race, because I think I'm going to be kind of playing it risky with the the episode length constraints here at the rate that I'm going, so I need to expedite things a little bit. Still delayed on the recording start, but we are green for the final round. There's a very loud car somewhere. That's Hansen's Murcielago. Yes, the final round comes to you from Tokyo East. And, forgot when you see it. Oh boy, that's not gonna be pretty though. Like, all jokes aside, that's about to be a very ugly crash because we're coming at turn one at upwards of 220 miles an hour. And there's just a sideways Mercedes in the corner there, like, Anywho. Yeah, 760 class, Tokyo East. Very fast, very loud, very tunnel, very dark. Very new driver in the form come on, give me the camera I just had. That's a pretty interesting angle as well. Why is this actually, like, with the backfire there, that makes this screenshot worthy? Hang on, let me take this stuff off the screen. That ain't a bad screenshot if you ignore the fact that this car is spiraling out of control. We'll get to that in a sec. Okay, that'll work, whatever. Not even the one I'm looking at, but Motoya Iwasaki is making his debut here. Otherwise known as Jintei, or Fast Emperor, or Speed King. This guy's got so many nicknames, I couldn't keep them all straight. Apparently a very well-known street racer here on this very expressway in the surrounding area. So, as a result, I have quite high expectations from him in this race. Now, let's go back and watch Darika Zoya and see what happens to her here as we head into the first turn. I think she got indecisive. She tried to slow down to avoid hitting Stephanie, but also tried to move aside to overtake her at the same time. And the Mercedes didn't like that. And, well, now you're just a passenger, Zoya. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, 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 oh. That thing's still running? How? What? Built Mercedes tough. Who's the one that clipped her there? It might have been, looks like that might have been Resayer. That it was, yeah. Or no, it was Ice. Ice is also sent flying. He kind of recovers though, and he just makes his way into turn one like not much of importance happened. I don't know how. You're just gonna no-sell that. But that happening kind of saves Stephanie's bacon a little bit, because otherwise she'd have been eaten alive in her turn one and just down the front stretch in general. I tell you what, going from the 600 class race back to this speed is just a shock to the system. That's for sure. As Riley Blanchard gives Risei a bit of a tap. We are on board with David Danvers as he gets used up by Ambrosio Reyes and the other Viper. He's already up through half of the field, partially courtesy to Zoya getting spun and making everybody scatter to avoid the, you know, a bad collision attack, which Brian Ice visibly failed. Eric Wachowski gives himself damage by smacking the outside wall there. Alright, what is happening here? I think Riley just got a little aggressive under the brakes there. So now Reyes got damage from that, she got damage, or no, other way around. Reyes got aggressive on the brakes. Yeah, he just ping-ponged. Alright, got another screenshot there. Or not. Just fire. Yeah, so Ambrosio gets late on the brakes, smacks Eric into Riley. And Reyes is like, oh, position for me? Oh, oversteer for me? So they basically bump and run two people at once. Not pretty. Alright, so David Danvers is going to go for an overtake attempt on Kawakuta. Guys. Really? Wow. 18 cars in the race. 13 of them have damage after one lap. That's pathetic. Danvers hits a sick wheelie, and they're both closing in on Stephanie at a rapid pace. I don't know how that Porsche is doing 224. I thought that thing would be terrible on a straight. Everything's hitting 230 here at the front, including Iwasaki, who's still leading, but he hasn't really built much of a lead. Stephanie's kind of hung with him, utilizing the advantages gained from having such a light car in the form of that 911 Porsche. Finally, Danvers overtakes Kawakuta, and both he and Stephanie are getting pretty close to the leader here. Of course, you know, obviously this guy is like a big deal in Tokyo. As Danvers tries to move on the outside of Stephanie, that's now the inside, and that is an overtake. But that's also a bit of snap oversteer from Throttle. But he managed to stay in second place despite that. It's like, yeah, so Iwasaki is this prolific driver on the streets of Tokyo. But this is exactly the layout that we have done here in the Challenge Series so many times, that these exact roads, our drivers know them pretty damn well. Meanwhile, Kawakuta sneaks his way into P3, and Danvers is right on the taillights of Iwasaki. Well, he was, until he got that more throttle oversteer, something an R34 hardly has to worry about. But the horsepower in that Viper is unstoppable at lower revs, or medium to high revs, I should say, and Danvers will scorch, pun not intended, ahead of Iwasaki. Iwasaki throws another gear in that car. So Iwasaki is the only driver that's debuted in this episode, but he was not brought in by Fracture. No, he was brought in by Kawakuta himself. They had a bit of an encounter a little earlier in the night. Like I would say, like 4 or 5 hours before this race. He was practicing. And he just kind of came across Iwasaki, who was just wandering around the track, and he was like, Iwasaki wanted to race him, I guess, and he did. Wiped the floor with him, despite having the older model Skyline, or older model GTR. And Yuval was just like, holy shit, you're fast. You want to do a race here? And Iwasaki was like, lit, say less. But we didn't literally say that, because he's like almost 50, but he was interested either way. Oh. Well, that's... oh boy. I think Kawakuta was doing his best to outbrake Stephanie there, as she was going for quite a lunge into that hairpin. She made it clean. Kawakuta, in his efforts to stay ahead of her, just drove right into the back of the person that he brought here in the first place. So now both these GTRs are going to have to pit in. Luckily they've got some breathing room, because other than the other GTR, Stillwell, 4th is here, and 6th is here. Now it is Danvers versus Kaiser, more or less, and they're not very close. And Stillwell, he will get ahead of them, so he will be 3rd, and he's not close to anybody. Ice, who leads the cars who got damaged on lap 1, he will overtake both of them on his way by. But it seems as though he might be the only person to do so, as here comes Barbara, not too close to them, and now they're pretty much up to speed. So ultimately, not the worst thing to happen to either of them. They lost their chance to fight for second, but they're still coming home 5-6. And probably coming home with a little bit of anger. I think this race is a foregone conclusion at this point. That's a pretty big lead for the Viper driver. And he's attacking these corners something fierce. So is Stephanie, to be fair. So maybe that doesn't make that much of a difference at the end of the day. But as we draw to the end of this race, this has definitely been one of the most spread out events, like, period. Kawakuta and Iwasaki are trying to go for one more for the road. Kawakuta nearly gets into the back of him again. I know Yuval has a pretty aggressive driving style, but I didn't know it was like this. He must have something to prove. Is that why he's invited him here? To get a chance to really beat his ass. It hasn't worked. What has worked is David Danvers. As he will take a victory here at Tokyo Expressway. Stephanie Kaiser closed the gap a little bit on the final lap. But not enough. Actually, no, she didn't. Her lap was slower. So a pretty distant second and an even more distant third for James Stillwell, who was actually caught up pretty significantly by Brian Eich near the end. And the debuting Iwasaki will grab P5. Big race to the finish that Barbara Page is going to win for 6th. So Iwasaki ends up 5th. Should probably have been 3rd. But what are you going to do? Kawakuta broke late trying to keep Kaiser behind and failed to do so. And here we are. So that'll do it for episode 58. That's it. Hopefully next time we won't be flirting with the end of the recording time limit here, as I think we're getting pretty close to that hour mark. So until next time, ya yeet.